Ryan, you there?
Hey Bart, can you hear me?
How's it going?
Awesome. Thanks for having me on again. How are you doing
You
tonight?
got it. You got it. Are you the Des Plaines caller?
No, it's
Okay.
from St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay. Okay, cool. Get a hand for us?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
So we're playing 2-3-10 at Ameristar in St. Louis or St. Charles.
Okay, so we had Kansas City call, and now we have
Yeah.
a St. Louis call, right?
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, you are correct. It's $2,500 effective.
Okay, 2,500.
The villain is a decent player. I would say under bluffs, but also over folds.
So 2,500, 2-3-10. Okay.
Yeah. So the villain, he opens up undergun +1 to 35. I'm in the hijack with ace of spades, queen of diamonds, and I 3-bet it to 125.
So here on the
And then-
hijack with ace of spades, queen of diamonds, 3 bets
That's
to
correct.
125. Okay. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and then he flats.
So your heads up.
So heads up. Yep, heads up to the flop.
Standard open size about to 35 here, usually?
Yeah, generally it's 2-3. Sometimes been 2-3-10 lately, so it's been kind of weird because people aren't used to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say 35 is still nothing unordinary right now,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So flop is about 265.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the king of spades, the queen of hearts, and then the nine of spades.
King of spades, queen of hearts, 9 of spades. Okay.
Yep. And then he checks and flow to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think we have a pretty standard C-bet here. I think we can just kind of go 1/3 sizing.
So you go 75 or something?
I went a little bit bigger than that. I actually went to just above 100. I went 105.
So this is
So it's
interesting.
about 40%, yeah.
So again, I don't bring like a whole lot of solver stuff into the work that I do just because I think it confuses a lot of people and that isn't really our target market. But this is where, even if you're just starting to dabble in that type of stuff, where I think going to computer aid would help, because I don't know off the cuff. Now, if you study this stuff enough, kind of like if you study chess openings enough, you remember like types of flops, similar types of flops and scenarios. I don't know if this is a C-bet 100 here, Ryan. You 3-betting +1 here on this very, very disconnected board with ace queen. It would be interesting. That would be one that would be interesting for me to run through. By the way, to that little pre-solve Solver Plus app would do that. Did you look at that at all, or are you just assuming
No,
it is?
I'm not really a big person on solvers.
Right.
I know other people are.
Mm-hmm.
My thought was I can seem to fetting say all of his like sevens through sevens, eights to me, maybe some tens where I can still get value from pocket tens, pocket jacks. And maybe sevens or eights I can fold them out, maybe get a little bit of value. Probably not, but you never know,
By the way, are you 3-betting Jack 10 suited here with close to 100% frequency too?
Oh, 100%, yes.
Okay, so you have the nuts here, right?
Yeah,
And-
I mean, I probably 3-bet 6-5 suited here 100% of the time.
Right.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is both players have the nuts here. Both players,
Yeah.
I mean, there isn't really no nut advantage. I think because you have the nuts, if there's a propensity for him to 4-bet at least partially with king, then you probably have more strong hands, which sort of lends itself into a bet. Now, remember, you don't have to go super, super large. It's just an interesting board in a somewhat tight configuration where both players would specifically have the nuts here. Not like, for example, if it was like 4, 5, 6 or some sort of other connected board where the 3-better doesn't have as much of the nuts here. So, okay, so you go 105.
It's a very dynamic board. If he raises me, I mean, I almost always fold, I think, here, to be honest.
There's also something to be said, though, too, that I think, and this is probably more of an argument if it's close for checking, that because you have the ace of spades here, it's more of a check because you can easily call across spade turns, and you don't want to get blown off of a backdoor spade draw that you can sometimes pick up. If we were looking at all of the different ace queens, I think ace queen with the ace of spades might actually be checked a little bit more for those reasons, thinking of those backdoors. Again, it gets complicated in these little spots. But okay, so you go 105.
I agree. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he does call.
Okay.
So right in the turn, which is a pot of 475.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And it comes out a pretty bad card. Almost one of the worst ones that gets the 10 of hearts.
10 of hearts. So there's a one-liner out
Yep.
here to a jack. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He checks, and I think I have no other option other than to check here.
So check.
Yeah, I don't think anyone can really make an argument for betting here.
I mean, I don't think so. It's just kind of like do you continue to bet your, say for example here, you had ace five of spades, okay?
Yep.
The reason why I say that is that do you continue to bet a jack here? Like say you had jacks and you bet the flop, or say you had ace jack and you bet the flop. You're continuing to bet here. You're not always checking it back. And I'm just trying to think about what are we balancing that with in terms of bluffs. And I would think you would want to continue with some of your nut flush draw bluffs.
I agree. I think in my particular game, though, I don't think I need a balance much, though. So I can be kind of exploitative where I can check back non-straights and bet straights. But I do get where you're coming from.
Like if you had ace 10 of spades here, I think you can make a case for betting turn here too. And rolling, possibly rolling through.
I think ace 10 of spades is a better candidate than my particular hand.
Right. So it goes check. Yep, okay.
If I have ace queen of spades, do you think I should bet as well?
What's the difference between ace 10 of spades and ace queen of spades?
Probably not much, right?
Well, the only thing is that you were ahead of other queens on the flop, and now you're really not.
That's true, like queen jack.
Queen jack and queen 10. Yeah, so.
Yeah. I can see that. You're right.
Yeah. Okay, so 475 to the river. Mm-hmm.
And it's a really interesting card. It's the queen of spades.
Oh, yes. Yes, I remember this hand. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then he bets into me 350. So he chooses almost like a 2/3, 75% sizing here.
350. And this is really interesting for a number of different reasons that are subtle where this board pairs. Number one, of course, right off the cusp is that you have the ace of spades, right? So, he doesn't have the nut spade draw.
Yep.
The other thing that I find a little bit interesting here in terms of it being a queen instead of pairing the king, although the king of spades is already out there, is that we talked about pre-flop, there's much more of a propensity for him to 4-bet off pre with king than queen here, right? So
Correct.
Now so let's say he always calls with queen, and let's say he 4-bets king 50% of the time, right? Well, now there's only one combo of queen, right, that are quads, right? Because the queen comes. Whereas if the river was a king, he's got all full 3 combos of queen, but
yeah.
Now it's like, well, what is he representing here? Like, he bets this big. Could he have king? Sure, he can have king some of the time, but it's far less likely that he's got queen here. Could he have 9-9? Sure.
Well, he can't have queen because I have the queen.
Oh, excuse me. You're right. I'm sorry. 0 combos.
Yeah.
Zero combos of queen. Yeah.
And honestly, I think he 4-bets king here like 95% of the time, if not 100% of the time. Especially against me, who we've had some time together where he knows I can be 3-betting him kind of wide.
Right.
So I can almost eliminate king 100% of the time.
So people in the live chat saying, why would you think about calling? No, I don't think that Ryan's thinking about calling here.
No. I'm never, ever calling here.
Yeah. I don't think Ryan's thinking about calling.
Fold or raise.
Yep.
Yeah. No.
So obviously that he doesn't have the nut flush, right? Questionable whether he would take this sizing.
I know he doesn't have kings full.
You think he doesn't have kings full because you think there's a dynamic setup?
Oh, okay, sorry. He could have king queen, right? I think there's one combination king queen left, but he never has pocket kings.
Well, look at the suits here, and that's one of the ones where you look at. You've got the queen of diamonds, the queen of hearts, the queen of spades are out there.
King queen of clubs, I believe.
One combo king queen of clubs, so that's possible, right?
And if he's king queen of clubs, he probably just raises, and If I raise and he jams, I just snap fold. It is what it is. I just ran into it.
I don't even know if he can raise king queen. To be honest with you, when you raise this side,
you're right because I would play king the exact same way.
Yeah, I don't even know if he can raise king queen. But I mean, he can have.
I'm essentially uncapped.
He can have 9-9 here, right?
He could have 9-9.
How about 10-10?
He could have 9-9.
Maybe.
He could have 10-10.
Mm-hmm.
I discount 9-9 more because I think 9-9 potentially raises the flop. While 10-10 could call the flop, then just check and flow on the turn.
So why are we not thinking about calling here if you have the ace of spades and you don't think would he use like this sizing for with just a jack? I'm just asking you because it's a question someone threw out in the live chat.
So I've had some time with him and he under bluffs. And this is never he's never betting a king or like,
mm-hmm.
I mean, what hands does he bet here that I beat?
Right. What's the bluff? Right. Exactly. What's the bluff here? Really?
I mean, it's gotta be like,
yeah.
I don't even know what it is.
I mean, he's not going to come out and bet ace king here, right?
No, it's not ace king.
Right.
I mean, his bluff at best has to be like.
It's hard to find a bluff here in live play. For sure.
10 of spades, something like I don't really think there's any bluffs in this run out. you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think I tend to agree with you here. It's questionable whether or not he bets a jack here for this type of sizing, but it just seems like, yeah, what can he bluff with? King nine? That's counterfeit, you know?
Yeah, I agree, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
his only jacks I think that bet are like somehow he gets here with like queen jack of clubs because he probably only plays queen jack suited, and with the suits that are out there, it's really only queen jack suited, right? Even that I find it hard to get here.
Well, of course, Queen Jack is a straight, right? I mean, what
Well, no,
P?
I agree. I mean, that's one combination of straights he has.
Hmm.
Um, I guess Ace Jack of Hearts could get there, right? That would kind of make a little bit of sense.
Hmm. Well, I mean,
Um,
I'm just looking at the call portion, and again, it's really hard for because most of the people who are saying, "Oh, call," he could have are picking this portion of his bluffs that are like a counterfeit two pair, 9, 10,
yeah,
King 10.
I
I
don't
don't
think this is
know.
ever a
Yeah.
bluff. I think he definitely has value. It's just a matter of
Hmm.
is it worth bluffing him off his value,
Yeah.
especially considering he may overfold, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think you probably have a decent candidate to do it with, blocking a lot of the full. If you say that he's almost always going to four bet King King, then it's really, really good that you block any of those Queen X types of full house combos, and then also too that you block the nut flush, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, to me, like I just feel like it sounds weird. It almost feels like it's a block bet, not in relation to pot size, but as opposed to actual stack size, where he just goes, "Oh, I may have a good hand here. Let me just bet this, and if
That's
I get
interesting.
raised, I guess I'll just evaluate it."
So you're saying the pot is not big enough. So so what you're sort of taking in what we said with the last caller, where the pot really isn't all that big. So we're looking at it more of an absolute type of size.
Correct, I
Yeah.
agree. And like I said, it's usually 2-3, so 2-3-10's a little bit bigger. So I think there may be some merit to just saying, hey,
Let me ask
if
you
I
this
go
question. So
large here,
Ryan,
yeah.
if he bet 175, you'd want to raise this more, right? More often.
Um, I think I'm raising any bet he makes, to be
I
honest.
just personally I like to raise a smaller bet size because I think there would be more Jack X that would be represented that would be very difficult to call here.
I agree.
Yeah. Here it gets a little bit dicey. I'm not sure if I'm on board with you in the sense that I've never heard that. I've never thought about block betting my stack size before. I mean, it's a pretty
No,
hefty bet.
you're not wrong,
Yeah.
but I mean, it is probably a bit larger than he likes to play. So maybe he may get scared of it. Hey, if I go like 1.5, 1.6K, just goes, holy crap, that's a
Right.
lot of money. I can never call
And
that.
you're not, but you're not expecting him to fold full house here, right?
Oh, no, I mean,
You're trying to target maybe some small flushes if he has them,
flushes or
maybe a jack.
a jack, right?
Okay, so
Um,
what kind of sizing did you use here?
so I basically want to give him about 2-1, so he doesn't get the best odds. I went 14-25.
So you basically raised the pot.
I raised pot, yeah. He
All
was
right,
getting just about 2-1, give or take a little bit.
14.25. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, there's another whole thing here too that we could go on for hours and hours with, which what size appears to have the most fold equity. Obviously, the
Yeah,
theory goes the larger you go, the more you polarize, and the worse price he gets.
I
Now,
agree, yeah.
in live play, of course, sometimes sizing less actually gets more fold equity, and sometimes sizing up gets less fold equity. So, you usually
I
try to.
do agree with you there.
Mhm.
I kind of do believe that, where it's like if I jam, it just looks so bluffy.
Mhm.
It's like, hey, if I think about it and like, so just make it say like just straight 1500, or if I make it like 1475 or whatever, it's like, man, it seems like I thought about it, where I almost want to call, where I think, oh, I need to fold because he wants to call. You know,
Yeah,
if you follow along with that.
I mean, like I said, to wrap it up, I think your hand is definitely a great candidate to do this with. I'm a little bit concerned about the sizing. I would want him to bet a little bit smaller, where it would be more reasonable for him to have Jack X. You seem to be interpreting the sizing in a different way, but okay. So you raced at 14.25, and what happens?
He eventually tank folds, so it gets through. Um, Later on, he does tell me he said he has a flush, which I kind of do believe. Um, I mean, I think that's being genuine, you know?
Well, the only thing about the flush, you mean like a suited connector flush?
Yeah. So the weird thing is, though, is Jack 10 of spades would have been a straight flush.
Right. Jack ten of spades would have been a straight flush.
Yeah. So it had to
Queen.
be like 8-7 or 7-6. So I kind of thought at first, like, maybe just full of it, but we've always had a decent relationship. So I think he could just be telling the truth, you know? And if he had like, say, 8-7, 7-6 of spades, he may play it the same way,
That's
you
interesting
know?
too, because I washed over that a little bit. I want to take a look back at the distribution here, because I think that makes a case for less of choosing this particular situation to bluff raise. You have the ace of spades, right? So,
Correct.
and the queen of spades comes out. So the next highest spade is the jack, right? The nine is also out there. So the only hand that gets V-pipped like this that's reasonable is jack ten of spades, right? Can't be jack nine, right?
I agree, yeah.
And then for a 10x, though, it's also 10-8 of spades. So really, you're talking about opening a small suited connector and then defending, right? So if you take a step back and you don't think he's using Jack X sizing here, he doesn't have many flushes here just because the board in your hand blocks them all, right?
Yeah, you're correct.
So whether he had a small flush or not, I think that that's important to look at, though. Sure, your
No,
hand
I
is...
agree, and I kind of realized that later on in the hand. I'm like, holy crap, like,
Yeah.
there's really not many flushes that he actually really should have had.
Should have. I mean, he really shouldn't be defending with any small suited connector here. I don't think, heads up from +1, because it's a very tight configuration and he would want to lop off those hands, right? He's not going to defend with everything.
Yeah,
You know,
I
if
mean,
he's...
although it's also maybe one of those live stake things, though, where people play far too many hands, you
Yeah,
know?
maybe. But thanks for the call, Ryan. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Bart. Appreciate it as always.
All right.